Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, where in today's video we are going to be continuing Neon Genesis Evangelion Redemption. What if Shinji went back in time? Book 1, Part 7. As always, if you're new to the channel, or if you're a regular and you enjoy what we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Where we last left off with our series, we now reach the midway point, if you will, of this saga, as we explore what would happen if, following the events of Third Impact, Shinji Ikari was given a second chance to right many of the wrongs in his life, a second chance to save those of whom he cares for. But even still, time travel can often be a tricky thing, and more often than not, you tend to meet your destiny on the very road that you take to avoid it. And for Shinji, this is no more truer than evident, as even though he has gone back into the past, things have not gone exactly the way he wants them to. For all of his victories, there are also setbacks. And now he is faced with the most powerful one of all, of his secret potentially being revealed. How will Shinji overcome these new obstacles that stand before him? And as we now enter into the final stretch of our story, what more changes does the future have in store for our hero? For all this and more, stay tuned as we now continue. Neon Genesis Evangelion Redemption. What if Shinji went back in time? Book 1, Part 7. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Shinji stared down the end of his bed. He found his wrist handcuffed to the railing and his father sitting before him, a gun in one hand as his eyes glared at him. Even through his glasses, the two were able to make eye contact. Shinji knew that the jig was up. It seemed as though his secret had been figured out in some way. And just when he thought that he had been careful this whole time, just when he thought that he had somehow managed to figure everything out, it seemed as though fate had other ideas. And now, there was no use trying to lie his way out of it. Of course, depending on how he answered, his father could take things one of two ways. Either he'd accept the information that was given, or Shinji would find his life being cut short. Maybe he could force an AT field and escape, but then he'd just be a wanted criminal. He had no idea of what his next move was going to be, but at this point Shinji was tired. Even if many couldn't see it, behind those eyes of his, those were that of a soulless individual, of someone who had seen trauma and horrors beyond all compare. As Gendo looked upon the being of whom he called son, Shinji Ikari, there was a wave of emotion surging through him as well. The only thing giving it away was the drops of sweat on his brow. There was even a slight twitch of his hand as he held the gun. Was he really so cold? Had things fallen apart so much? Had he really fallen away from his son to such a degree that now he as a father was attempting and maybe would kill the very life that he helped bring into this world? Gendo wondered if he really had the stomach for it. Of course, for all of the horrible things that he had done already, what was one more? But even still, if he ever crossed a line like this, would his wife even want to come back? Shinji, at least, if that's what you truly are. It is who I am, Father. I am Shinji Ikari. But I know that you are something else. And that's why I'm giving you the chance to explain before I make my final decision. Very well. But know that for the explanation that you seek, you're going to hear things you wish you hadn't. Even so, do you still want the answers? Of course I do. And are you open to believing anything, no matter how outrageous? If it's logical, then I will. Alright then. I am Shinji Ikari. But I am not the Shinji that you know, and that is true. I am Shinji Ikari from the future. At least, a different future. A different future. Is this time travel? A form of space-time continuum? Something along those lines. You could say that I come from a world that's nothing but pure hell. A hell of your own making. I see. Then tell me, what is this hell? I come from a future where Third Impact was implemented. Sele ultimately got their wish. The human instrumentality, joining all forces on Earth into one. In the final moments, I managed to pull myself out. However, in the end, I was all that was left. Lilith. Lilith? Yes, the second angel. She gave me a second chance. She sent my consciousness into the past, this reality. And this is where I've been ever since. If I had to describe it, or put it in the best term of words, you could say that it's like uploading data to a flash drive. This body is the flash drive itself, and my consciousness is the data. The data has been slowly assimilating itself into this body, allowing me to completely merge with this reality and universe. I see. So that's why you're so knowledgeable and skilled, despite never being an Eva pilot to begin with, or having any formal training. It's why you are able to do so well with your sync ratios and in combat, and it's why you've been able to push yourself past 100%. I have, to my detriment. Is that so? Yes. You see, the process for uploading my consciousness into this body was not instantaneous. It's something that's taken some time. And every time I push myself over 100%, you could say that there's a bit of stalling, a bit of lag. Lag? It was minuscule at first, but I feel it more and more each day. It takes maybe a few seconds, maybe a minute or so, for my senses to all connect at once. For example, I'm touching these sheets right now, but I'd say about every few seconds or so I actually feel the softness register with my mind. And maybe to a more bigger extreme, you could shoot me in the arm. It might take a minute or two for me to actually register the pain. That's what I mean by lag. The ratio syncing between my body and my consciousness. It hasn't reached 100% completion. And every time I push my body past 100% inside of the Eva, you could say that there's a major disruption with the uploading process. Well, that makes the most sense. And it means you're aware of what I'm truly trying to do here. You are aware of my plans. I am, Father. And I figure since there's no point in trying to beat around the bush, I should let you know now that your plans fail. I see. How bad was my failure? Your failure led to Third Impact. It led to the loss of life, of many on this planet. And in the end, you never got what you wanted. I see. then you are also aware of the secret of the Evangelion. I am. Mother sends her regards. Yui, you've heard her voice? As clearly as I hear yours. She and I have been working together in our battles. It's why we're able to be as efficient as we are. She lends me the power and helps me. It's why I was able to override the dummy plug system, and why I was able to overpower your efforts to try to bind me and force me into killing Toji. Then does that mean, Father, you need to understand, I've come here in order to give the world a second chance. All this time, I wondered what was wrong. I wondered what was different about you. And yet I couldn't quite put my finger on it until now. I guess in the end you aren't really my son, seeing as how the boy who I should have known was ultimately replaced. I don't see it that way. I like to think that I'm nothing more but a Shinji that was given a swift kick in the ass, and it's one that I needed greatly. I'm not going to sugarcoat things with you, Father. I hate you for what you did. I hate you for the actions that you took. And you could say that every move I've made here has been a fight against it. It's why I try as hard as I do. Because simply, I don't want to lose anything ever again. For you, or for Sele, or for anyone's ambitions. I see. Then why have you stayed? If you know everything about me, if you know what I've done, you could have easily taken this information to anywhere else. You could have easily have had nerves shut down. So why have you continued to fight? Why work with me? I think we both know the answer to that, Father. Getting rid of Nerve wouldn't solve the problem ultimately. In the end, the world still needs the Evangelion to defeat the angels. That much is certain. However, for your dreams and your ambitions, those are what I plan to stop. Because it's wrong. All this time, everything you've done up until now, do you not realize the danger it's caused? You use people. You use them for your own goals, and you discard them afterwards. You hardly see anyone as a human being. You've done all of these things for a person who would have never wanted this for you. This might be hard to believe, but Mother loves you. She's loved you very much, and it breaks her heart to see the path that you've walked down. And yet even still, despite all of it, she would want for you at the very least to be the man that she fell in love with. To be the Gendo Ikari that she believed in. But how can I do that when I've stumbled so much? When I've fallen this low? If you know all of this about me, then you have every reason to want me dead. I don't want that. And you asked why I've been doing what I've been doing. I don't want to put the burden on others. Shinji held down his head, his hair covering his face as a few tears fell. I watched them die. One by one. Misato, Asuka, Rei, everyone. They're all gone. And I'm the only one that's left. I don't cry. Why should I? What right do I have to shed tears? You know the worst part? As much as I hate you, as much as you made me suffer, you were right. I was a coward. I was weak. I never did anything for my own reasoning. I never had a dream or a goal or any ambition. I just did what everyone told me to. I never could think for myself. I never could live for myself. And yet I'm the one that survived. Gendo would be overcome. Up until now, his son had displayed a new side of himself that he never thought he could have. And yet now it seemed as though the stress of everything was finally crushing him. If I had been stronger back then, if I actually had a backbone, things wouldn't have ended like this. It's all my fault and I know it. I always said, it's not my problem. There's nothing I could do. Those are just stupid excuses I told myself to make me feel better. Because I figured it couldn't be helped. It's what I always told myself. And yet, what did I have to show for it? The only reason why I'm here is because she took pity on me. Because she felt so sorry for the last human on Earth. She gave me the second chance. And honestly, I don't know how much longer I can hold out. The only thing I want now is to win. I just want to win and make sure that this world is safe. And after that, I don't care if I go. Don't say that. Don't speak like that, Shinji. In all honesty, I thought you were the perfect son. A son that didn't cry, that didn't complain, that followed every order that he was given. I thought that finally there had been some sense drawn into you. But now I see. Everything you've been through, it's all been because of me and my foolishness. Because of my selfish dream and desire. Instead of trying to be a good father to you, instead of trying to preserve Yui's memory, I betrayed it. And now even worse, you are the product of my failure. As a man and as a father and as a husband. Why had I been so foolish? For so long. This wasn't what she would have wanted for either of us. And now, through no fault of my own, and through none of my own actions, fate has gifted me a second chance. A chance to be a better father. Shinji, I want to know everything. You will not be alone when fighting for this new future. I will fight beside you, and we will save this world, and your mother. Gendo removed the restraints from Shinji. The two of them stood there for a moment, neither one knowing what to say or what to do. From here on out, the rules of engagement had now changed. Father and son would now work together in the fight to save all of humanity and for a new future.
Sure.
Toji would be discharged from the hospital not too long after. Shinji following soon behind, although he would be put on standby for a brief period, as Ava Unit 1 would have to undergo major repairs following the battle. For now, Asuka would be moved to acting captain of the Evangelion team. Of course, to say that she was surprised by the promotion would be an understatement, although Shinji had actually been working for her to be vice captain for some time, as he felt if anything were to ever happen to him, she would be the most qualified. Of course, Asuka was very honored to be receiving such a title and praise, although she was truly shocked that Shinji would think so highly of her, although it wasn't like it wasn't to be expected. Toji would apologize for his Eva going out of control like that, although they assured him that it was actually the work of the angel that had done it, and that thankfully they had detected it in time and they were able to destroy it before any true damage could be done. But still, just when they thought that they were forming a team, now Shinji was out of commission. Although for now, they had 5 units to work with, so that was what they were just going to have to use until Shinji got back on his feet. In the meanwhile, Shinji and his father had many conversations. They went over everything that happened in the original timeline, with Gendo now being aware of Seilei's betrayal and everything that was to come. Of course, there were times when there were long pauses of silence. After all, everything that Shinji said sounded fantastical, but it wasn't illogical at all. In fact, with Gendo listening to this, and everything that happened with hindsight being 2020, it made him question why he didn't see through these things sooner. Although there was one thing that he found off-putting about all of this. Despite Shinji having all the information, everything was not going about the ways that they had originally. Up until now, the angel attacks hadn't been at the precise times that Shinji remembered, nor did they attack in the correct order. Also, other world events were not taking place the same way as they had in the original either. This gave Gendo even more reason for concern. Of course, he was able to deduce rather quickly that even though Shinji had gone back in time, it wasn't back to a time specific. This world, while it was similar, there were things that were a bit off. It was like taking something that was level and tilting it, just by 0.1. The differences might not be all that noticeable at first, but given time, you would slowly start to see them. And now this gave Gendo even more reason to be concerned. Even with the information that his son could give, there was no telling if it could be 100% reliable or not. And then there was something else. There was supposed to be another pilot that would arrive, not too long in the distant future. A boy named Karori. He would come in the guise of being a pilot, but he would actually be an angel. That gave Gendo more than enough reason to be concerned, but then there was something else. Mari. Of course, Gendo had never thought anything of it. He never had a reason to question anything that happened in this world, or in his lifetime. But if what he had learned from Shinji was true, then there was something about Mari that didn't add up. From everything he could gather, she had always existed in this world. She didn't fake any of her documents. Her birth certificate was legit. She was real. And yet, in Shinji's time, she never existed. So now, this left to many questions. How on earth did an extra pilot arrive? But even still, if she could just appear, but yet she's not the traitor, then who really was? Could they be certain that she too didn't have a role to play in all of this? Of course, Shinji would confirm that in all likelihood it was probably because of him going back in time that things had been changed. And even when he was joined with the consciousness of humanity, he only skimmed through the minds of all of whom he was connected with. There might have been a chance that Mari existed in his original world, but that they just never paid any attention to it. Of course, that was also a possibility. Shinji didn't know all of the workings of Nerve from the time of his original timeline of events, all the way till third impact. For all they knew, Mari probably always existed, except because of how Shinji acted the first time around, her presence was never needed. But still, why was she needed this time around? That was just something they'd have to keep their eye on. For now, Shinji was given two expressed orders: to keep what he had learned to himself, and to not let anyone know of his true origin. And second, and most importantly, he was not allowed to go over 90% in his Evangelion. So much so that Gendo had put extra restraint on the Ava's power to make sure that it couldn't go past a certain limit. Based off of the damage that Shinji had done to his body, it was going to take at least another month before he would be 100% completion. Until then, if Shinji tried to go over 100%, it would result in his death, and Gendo was not going to let that happen under his watch. He had already lost his son in one future. He was not going to let that happen again. Before long, Shinji would rejoin the others. Everyone was happy that he had returned, happy to see that their captain was okay. Of course, Shinji was glad to be amongst them all as well, but they could feel that there was something different about him. No one could entirely put their finger on it, and no one was 100% sure either. It was just this sinking feeling, as if Shinji had changed, like he had lived another life in a short period of time. He looked at them fondly, almost as if he knew something that they didn't, although no one could 100% be sure of just what was going through his mind. In the meanwhile, Shinji had a lot to think about. His father and himself, they were getting along well. Things seemed to finally be coming up. Although still, Shinji had not been entirely truthful with his father. For you see, Gendo was not the only one who knew. There was someone else who knew of his secret. As Shinji sat on a bench, as the sun was setting, there was a man that was sitting next to him, enjoying a quick smoke as he watched over his watermelon patch. "So, your old man finally figured it out." "Yeah, I can't believe I actually gave myself away. But still, you did it for a good reason. To save the life of your friend. That's admirable." "Yeah, but I kinda liked hiding, being in the shadows. I'm sorry, Shinji, but being a spy is my job." "I know that. And still, what have you done with the information I've given you?" "I've kept it on a need-to-know basis. If everything of what you've said is true, me snooping around too deeply could result in my death. And I thank you for saving me from that. I wouldn't say you're out of the woods just yet. If you're not careful, those of whom that you've been working for, they might come after you sooner or later. Then what exactly do you suppose that I do in the meantime?" "For now, the only thing we can do is pretend we know nothing. At least for your sake, I mean. I can't just stay on the sidelines for too long, Shinji, you know that. Sooner or later, I'm gonna have to get involved in one way or another." "I know. But still, I know. And thank you. I didn't know that me being gone caused her so much pain. She truly loves you, you know. I know that. And I love her a lot as well, Shinji. I was hoping that when all of this business was over, I'd finally be able to work up the courage, the chance to ask her to marry me, for us to be able to leave this life behind. Of course, I know that she would never do it officially, But still, a chance for us to have a home, me to have a place to settle down and grow my watermelons. Although I'd love to be resting on her melons. Hey, come on. What? I'm just messing. Besides, you've already experienced some of Misato, haven't you? Hey, it wasn't even like that. It was just... I know. I understand completely. Besides, there's already a girl for you, isn't there? So you know. It's as plain as day by how you look at her. It's just... I want it. I really do. It's just... You're worried. You're worried that despite everything you've done up until now, that it might all be taken away from you. That just as easily as you have it, you could just as well lose it. Well, Shinji, if I'm being serious, then I say with all certainty that nothing in life is ever guaranteed. For all the good that you've done, it could very well amount to nothing. I know that. I know. You just wanted to have someone say it, to confirm what you're feeling. Yeah. I guess I did. Shinji, you're a bright young man. You've been through things that honestly, I don't think any child should ever have to go through. You have lived a life that I can't even begin to comprehend. And yet somehow you found the strength to come back here. You have found the strength to keep fighting, and you've come this far. Don't stop now. Do not give in. See yourself through. And as long as you hold to your convictions, then I have faith that things will work out. But sometimes it just feels like there's something out there that's just forcing against me. I don't know if it's the will of the universe, an act of God, or just my own stupidity that's playing a role in all of this. I can take the damage. I can take anything that comes my way. But my friends, my family, I don't want anything to happen to them. And so, you want to try to do everything on your own? Admirable, but also foolish. From everything I've learned about you, Shinji, you came from a time where, to your own admission, you didn't do enough. Not nearly enough. You were weak. You were spineless. Whenever you had to step up to the plate, you had to be forced or dragged or coerced. By all admission, I'd have to say you were pretty pathetic. But do you know what would have been even more pathetic? If you had lived in that world by yourself, doing absolutely nothing, but feeling nothing but pity. That is something I would not respect at all. I understand what you've been through. You have your own burdens, and everyone has their own cross that they must bear. But still, you have the ability to change. Right now you are living proof of that change. And I believe that you will be rewarded for it. Yes, you will face more hardships. You will face more difficulties. Life is going to test you in ways that I can't even begin to imagine. But I believe if there's anyone who has the capabilities to overcome that, it's definitely you. Thanks, Kaji. So, you know what to do? I do. And don't worry, they'll be safe, I promise. Thank you. But Shinji turned to face Kaji as he was getting ready to leave. You made the mistake of letting others pull you. You made the mistake of relying too much on others. But don't make the mistake of pushing them away. Remember, you have people that care about you. Just because you can be a one-man show, it doesn't mean you should. Shinji nodded as he left. He wasn't sure when he would see Kaji again. Even though he had informed him of some things to make sure that he would survive, he knew that they couldn't be seen together too much, or else the higher-ups might get a bit suspicious. But even still, for Shinji, this was the turning tide that he had been waiting for. If they were going to make a push to save the future, then now was the time. He didn't know if there was going to be a do-over or a second chance. And for Shinji, he wasn't going to wait to find out. But even still, as he arrived home and was greeted by his friends and dearly loved ones, among them there is one of whom that cannot be trusted, and one that would ultimately lead to their downfall. This concludes Neon Genesis Evangelion Redemption. What if Shinji went back in time? Book 1, Part 7. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for Monday as we continue Naruto Polaris Shippuden. What if Hanabi Hyuga was born first? Part 10. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.